Hi, everyone. Welcome to this very exciting session on the TIE Global Summit 2020 on the Bangladesh startup ecosystem, the untapped digital goldmine of Asia. I'm very excited for all of you to bring a very power-packed panel with us today. First of all, we have Malia Kadir, founder and managing director of Shahoj, one of the largest super apps and startups in Bangladesh. Next, we have Sifat Sarwar, co-founder and chief operating officer at ShopUp, one of the leading B2B e-commerce platform and a startup in Bangladesh. And also, Sifat is the vice president of TIE Dhaka. And lastly, we have Fayaz Taher, the chief operating officer at Bongo, one of the largest in Bangladesh, and also the president of TIE Dhaka. Please join me in welcoming all three speakers. Hi, Maliapa. Hi, Sifat. Hi, Faiz Bhai.
Hi, Bijan. Thank you for the wonderful intro.
Thank you so much. And, I'm very excited for this power-packed panel on the Bangladesh, the digital gold mine for Asia. So I'm going to start off with Maliapa, just to give a brief introduction of Maliapa in a bit more details. That Maliapa is a Bangladeshi-American technology entrepreneur. Shahoj.com is doing breakthrough work in digitizing the disorganized and the male-dominated transportation industry in Bangladesh. You might know that Shahoj is a super app logistics mobility company who is not only working in ride sharing, logistics, but also in different verticals like foods, health, and other e-commerce verticals as well. Doing Shahoj, Maliapa used to work in different emerging markets. She has worked at Nokia. She has worked at Morgan Stanley, and she is a graduate of the Harvard Business School. Maliapa, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much.
We all know about the story of the Shahoj, right? So if we just go back a bit of a kind of like a reminiscence of what has been, can you tell us a bit more about how did you start up with the idea of Shahoj? How did the company start in Bangladesh? What are some of the challenges you are facing, and what are some of the exciting opportunities that keeps you going? Maliapa, over to you.
Sure. Thank you so much. A wonderful panel. So Shahoj means easy. I grew up in Bangladesh, went abroad from education, worked abroad. So the dream was always to come back and to do something in Bangladesh, kind of like learn the good things in the Western market and come back and do it in your own country. So around 2014, I thought it was the right time to come back. I had spent 5 years, I had spent a couple of years after graduating from HBS, working in tech companies in Singapore, based out of Singapore. And the Bangladesh market felt like was ready to go on a digital journey. The proliferation of internet users was happening. Mobile payments became popular, which is another big pillar of digital commerce. So looking at those factors, I thought it was the right time to come back, raised money, angel investment from abroad, moved from Singapore here. So Shahoj is Shahoj because I want to make life easy for the masses of Bangladesh. And Shahoj means easy in Bangla. And inspired by all the business school case studies you read on Rakuten, Alibaba, and all at that time. So the dream has been to build up the largest destination for Bangladeshis online on a daily basis. So we focused on necessary services. We started with bus tickets, long distance travel. I wanted to pick a mass market product. And that's why we started with long distance travel, bus ticketing. At that time, Redbus had exited in India as well, neighboring country. There was the first exit in e-commerce after a long time in India. So that bit of inspiration from there as well. We started with long distance bus. Then we added ride sharing and food delivery 3 years later in 2018 when it became legal. And the idea was to add everyday use cases because as a super app, we want people to use us frequently. So looking for travel is not a frequent use case, but travel is an essential service. So we added ride sharing and food delivery, more of a frequent use case. And then we got into logistics. We're in truck booking. We have a trucking marketplace. That's more of a, I guess that's the logistics play we are in. So it's been a very exciting journey. 5 years in Bangladesh market. Basically, us and two other startups I think started at that time 5 years back when we started. I've seen the market grow tremendously. Digital adaptation of people has grown a lot. Very importantly, we've gone through, we have done around 200 million transactions to date in 5 years, served, crores of customers. And, I see a big change happening in last 5 years. The ecosystem has developed big times. There are a couple of startups here that started after we did in the last 5 years. Very importantly, I think the investor mindset towards Bangladesh has changed a lot for the better. 5 years back, you asked me to mention the challenges I had. Two things. One is funding. The other is finding good people. So on the finding good people, it has become a lot easier now. People understand startups. At that time, like, oh, what is an internet company? What is a startup? But now people understand startups. They understand the exciting work we do. That is very important. So we see people from big telcos who want to join Shahoj, and I'm sure the other startups as well, which was very difficult initially. So now there's a good, vibrant workforce that want to join. That's a big, big plus for us. Fundraising continues to be a challenge for Bangladesh. However, we have raised like 4 or 5 rounds in 5 years, and all from international VCs and angel investors, mostly in Southeast Asia and Europe, and also I have Chinese investors. So I see a change happening there, but it remains to be a struggle to raise money for Bangladesh. What excites me is that it's a country of 170 million people, very stable growth. We are well headed towards the path of reaching the magical 3,000 GDP per capita that people say when e-commerce flourishes in any country. So we are at 2,000 with 7-8% growth. There's a forecast of growing 9% in 2021 by IMF or somebody, I think, 8 or 9. With that kind of growth, we'll get to 3,000 very soon. But I think our economy is homogeneous. Culturally, we're homogeneous. The stability of economy is there. There's a good startup ecosystem. So I think it's time investors start looking at us. And what excites me is really the opportunities ahead. We are just getting started in this market.
Thank you so much, Maliappa. Thank you so much, sharing your experiences. And just to add on to that, I have a second question for you. And not a lot of people know this, but Bangladesh has already raised more than $300 million in international investment in startups over the last 5 years, right? And I know, compared to a lot of other markets, it's not as big, but for Bangladesh, I think this is a big achievement. Previously people used to come and go to China on the one side and India on the other, but now, people are taking, Bangladesh quite seriously. So for international investors who wants to come into Bangladesh, Maliappa, what would be some of your advices on how to navigate the investment scene in Bangladesh? What are some of the sectors they should definitely look at? As you mentioned, there's a large GDP per capita income, middle income growing at 10% to reach 34 million by 2025. And what are some of the things they're missing out by not coming into Bangladesh?
Yeah, you're missing out a big market here. Bangladesh has a PR problem. It's totally a kind of a public relations problem. We've been branded by natural disasters and all. You have to look past that. That's forgotten. That's the long gone Bangladesh. Bangladesh has changed. We are well on the way of becoming a middle income country. The economy is stable. Look at the stats. Not many countries in the world have gone through a steady level of growth without economic crisis or financial or kind of monetary crisis or currency crisis of some sort. Bangladesh has done very well in that regard. It's a homogeneous country. We don't have any racial, cultural, or any caste or any kind of issues in that manner. So that's also good. From a logistics perspective, it's a very even land, and it's a small country. It is pretty easy to do. All we need is capital. And we've got our engineers are getting jobs to Google and all these places from here. So there is human capital here as well. What we are really lacking is just money. Look beyond what you have heard previously of Bangladesh. Look at our stats. Meet our people. There is a good ecosystem here, and there is a market here. Investors have invested in many countries before they reach 3,000 GDP per capita. So I think it's more of a branding issue we have. If we look beyond that, you'd see that there is a big market here. And in other countries, what has happened? How has digital proliferation of online commerce happened in other countries? Investors have gone in before they reach the magical 3,000 GDP per capita, and capital has been poured in. When capital comes in, digital adaptation can happen pretty fast. That is the story of online conversion in every country. A lot of investor capital comes in, people are given incentives to come online and try new things, try online. And that is the only way to really make it adaptation happen fast. Bangladesh is adapt digital services. There is MFS has done very well. For other commerce, all we need is money. The capital has to come in for the proliferation of online commerce to happen. So what you are missing out is a big market, and a market full of young people who are adaptable to technologies, who are really connected to the rest of the world through social media, who will adapt technology if the right push and incentive is there. And there is a vibrant ecosystem as well of entrepreneurs. It's a country of entrepreneurs. Bangladeshis have a big fighting spirit in them. And it's a country of entrepreneurs. So you will find good entrepreneurs here, and you will find a big market here. So I think look beyond what you have heard and look at our story. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Malia. I think the Bangladesh PR problem, always don't rely on Google SEOs, just look beyond that. It's a fantastic country, as Malia was mentioning, 100 million people on the internet, 40 million people on their smartphones, right? If you look at even big investors like Ant Financials, Gates Foundation, they were one of the early investors in the mobile financial services sector. And look where they got us. It's one of the fastest growing mobile financial services company in the whole world. Now I'll move on to Fayaz Bhai, who is also the president of TiE Dhaka and also the chief operating officer at Bongo, possibly the largest media and entertainment platform in Bangladesh. Fayaz Bhai has been working with Bongo for a while, building the largest video platform multi-channel network in Bangladesh. Prior to this, he was also the CEO of this business conglomerate called Fortuna, who is vested across different industries, including footwear, retail, commerce, and foods and beverages as well. And he has built those companies from the grounds up, managing marketing, production, development, financial forecasting, and everything. Fayaz Bhai, we're very happy to have you here. One of the questions that we have for you is that, building companies such as Bongo, which is now multi-country, leveraging technology, who not only entertains, consumers in Bangladesh, but all over the world. What are some of the early challenges that you have faced? How have you seen this tech adoption going on? What is your audience's attitude towards internet engagement in the past few years? And where do you see this trend going in the future? Fayaz Bhai, over to you.
Thank you, Bijan, for the wonderful intro, and thank you for all the panel guests for joining. It's actually great, as Maliappa pointed out, it's a PR problem always about what the Bangladesh story is. As Bongo, we started in 2014. I actually invested in Bongo as an angel investor on day one with my co-founders, and same way invested in quite a few companies at that time. And what we've seen is a huge change in terms of the adoption. Has internet speeds have increased, smartphone penetrations have increased. That's actually enabled the growth story in technology adoption. We've seen early adopters come in and use the internet for various purposes, as Maliappa pointed out: e-commerce, ticketing, shopping, and then mostly viewing content. Previously, people were viewing small clips, bite-sized content through value-added services, or playing some online games. Now they're streaming content, and they're streaming live TV. And that's what Bongo's done. We've done a lot of investments over the last couple of years and becoming one of the pioneers of enabling streaming live TV and VOD throughout Bangladesh in partnership with different telcos like Grameenphone. We launched Bioscope Live together, and that's actually changed and revolutionized. What we've also done is work with a lot of content partners across YouTube and increase that. So we reach almost 100 million unique customers a month globally, almost 60% in Bangladesh, 40% outside. And we get to see a huge content consumption pattern, reaching almost 1 billion views a month. So it's amazing to see how companies in Bangladesh with the talent, and rightly pointed out by Maliappa that we have a lot of talent that can build great companies. All of our R&D talent is here, our tech talent is here, our marketing talent is here, content talent is here. So we've seen them enable consumers to get a better experience. Previously, like last year, we did the World Cup cricket in partnership with Grameenphone on their Bioscope platform, almost reaching huge concurrency. People were watching throughout the country. So those types of things enable and to see the success that's happening because of the enablement of technology. Now, this year, what's been great is the adoption of technology even more, especially with, due to COVID, people during the pandemic had nothing to do. And we've seen multiple devices being watched. Someone's watching on the TV, someone's watching on their mobile devices. So there's like 4 or 5 family members watching on TV. And we've seen a huge spike in consumption of streaming content, live TV, VOD, and online advertisement, increasing because of the result of this and a wider reach. So Bijon, to your question is that this is here to stay. It's not going anywhere. It's just accelerated the growth of what's going to happen. And especially we're now, exploring content in Nepal, Sri Lanka. We've been doing it over there, West Bengal, Middle East, Malaysia, US. So we reach all corners of the world with the Bengali community. Now we're trying to enable more languages. So it's there are challenges, obviously, with internet speed, talent. It's here, but to develop talent takes time.
Thank you so much, Faiz Bhai. And if I would maybe ask you to expand the last part a bit more, means there's always this perception that if you found a company in Bangladesh, it's going to stay in Bangladesh. But you are one of those companies who have founded this company in Bangladesh and expanded across the Middle East, expanded across Asia, expanded across South Asia, Middle East, North Africa. So how was that experience being a Bangladeshi company, going expanding globally to any viewers, whether it's in the West, whether it's in the East, consuming Bengali content? And what are some of those opportunities that you see building a global company out of Bangladesh? If you can elaborate a bit more on that.
Sure. So thanks to our investors that we were able to do this, and international investors. And our co-founders are international. Management team is international as well. We have a widespread team, from Netherlands to Korea to Canada to UK. So it's widespread, and that cultural enablement has actually helped us to expand our horizon beyond Bangladesh. Obviously, because of technology, it's beyond borders. So one of the challenges was like, what countries do you go into? And we always had a very good go-to-market strategy, trying to understand through data analytics, which markets have similar market characteristics to Bangladesh. This year, we've expanded our partnership in Egypt. We're looking to go big in Egypt next year. To expand. And again, the cultural nuances are the same when the market characteristics are similar. So we look for those characteristics of technology adoption, smartphone penetration, internet, and what people are watching for content on TV. And when we're able to see that, it helps us see the similarities. Like the content that people watch in Bangladesh and content people watch in Egypt are similar stories. They're just different actors, different people, different plot, location, but the stories are the same. We've also done dubbing, where we've started to dub Bangla content in Nepalese, and we're going to be launching there with like our Bangla natoks and dramas. So our goal is to take our culture abroad, but also taking into account, what other types of cultural content we can bring into Bangladesh too. So in terms of expansion, it's always been a challenge. Bangladesh is a fantastic place to start building your company. You have all these problems or challenges. These are all opportunities, and because we have to face each and every problem to solve it, we're able to go into each country and solve those problems as well, because our mindset is different. And for every challenge, it's to overcome. And so that's the mindset that we try to build. And in terms of expansion, it's the regulations. Yes, sometimes people say Bangladesh is a very highly regulated country. I don't think so. There's a lot of other countries that are very highly regulated, and we have a lot of great policies in Bangladesh, IT policies, that's actually enabled us to do all these. So I think from my perspective, going global is not just about, going across countries and starting open. It's going global is also about mindset and, the education process and the talent process and how you manage that talent. And for Bongo's growth story is, we've been a profitable company, and we've been able to attract talent from abroad. And that talent has enabled us to expand beyond our borders because of that. So I think, the processes and all that has enabled quite a bit. And obviously, as Maliappa pointed out, is capital is always an issue, challenges, but we've actually started to explore different mechanisms in terms of debt, from local debt. We've been able to get that thanks to our partners at IDLC. We've been doing to factoring. So when you start creating a business with great fundamentals, you can expand and you start to attract a different story. So at the end of the day, what matters is the vision. And for Bongo, it's all about enabling through video. And we are competing with all the regional players. We're starting to expand our SaaS video platform to regional, like we're talking to customers in Singapore, India, Nepal, who want to use our software, and we're not that expensive. So when you start to look at the cost advantages, you start to think about, hey, we actually have a shot at the global scene. So I think it's really boils down to mindset and the question that we always ask ourselves: why can't we? And whenever we ask that question, we find the answers and to the solutions to those problems. So, and that's what I think has helped Bongo expand.
Thank you so much, Faiz Bhai. I think the ending note was quite strong, that why can't we, right? Why can't a company in Bangladesh can go for the global market? And what is very interesting that when you mentioned that even though you're expanding in a lot of countries, you can do it in terms of software, but also the content can be modified and can be consumed by a wide variety of audience. And I think that's also, I think, increases the global sensitivity on different cultures, consuming, content from different nationals. I think that's something also, I would say, very inclusive for Bongo to do it as well. I'll now move on to Sifat, the Vice President of TiE Dhaka. Sifat, I'm always glad to be here with you. Just to do a brief introduction of Sifat. Sifat is the co-founder and Chief Operating Officer of ShopUp. Is one of the leading Bangladeshi full stack B2B commerce platform. Even during the COVID, they raised a massive round from Sequoia Capital and Floweridge Ventures. And everyone has been talking about that, during a COVID, it's difficult to raise funding, and Sifat and his team, went ahead and did that. Sifat has very closely worked with ShopUp in building the product that they have today. This winning product that empowers a lot of MSMEs, a lot of Facebook commerce to come into this particular sector. Previously she has worked as a corporate stakeholder management and have worked with top companies like Standard Chartered Bank. Sifat, we are very glad to have you here.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me, Bijon Bhai. Every time you say vice president, I think of myself as this elegant lady I am yet to become. But thank you for having me here and with this panel. I'm very honored.
No, thank you.
Yeah.
Sifat, I know that as an entrepreneur, you have been there from the very beginning of the startup ecosystem. Absolutely. If you can give a bit of an view on how this ecosystem has evolved over the last 5 years, how young startups are leveraging the power of technology, just like ShopUp, in solving emerging market problems in Bangladesh.
So I think I'll be very honest and candid here. And I think a lot of changes have happened over the past 5 years, because when I just started, my parents had absolutely no idea what their daughter was doing, leaving a corporate career and starting something called a startup. So from that, I have seen that journey where they're encouraging people at corporates to not migrate and join startups because they also see a future here. And my parents are like really old people. So I think personally, I feel that I have been born at an incredibly auspicious time, because Bangladesh is at an inflection point where all those magic is happening, like in 10 years, we should be the size, our GDP should compete with Indonesia. And we are at that inflection point where, like the momentum has begun, and I am fortunate enough to have been born at that time. So while you give me a lot of credit, Bijon Bhai, because of the round we have raised, because of the traction we have gained, needless to say that the timing is right, the support that we receive from the government is right, the growth in the economy is right. So a lot of things are actually in our favor. And the biggest thing that I would say in the last 5 years that has happened is that, like the first success stories happened. And although they're not here in this panel, I would like to acknowledge Pathao and Bikash, who really put Bangladesh in the global map. So what happens is that sometimes it is not a talent issue, it is not a skill set issue, it's a mindset issue, because people think we can't. And as Faiz Bhai correctly mentioned, the narrative changed from we cannot do it. The narrative changed to we can do it. And once that happened, you will see that, in the first year, there was just Pathao. In the second year, there were 2 more. In the third year, there are 3 more. So it propagates nicely. So that is the change that has happened. We have had some 1 or 2 success stories. And once those 1 or 2 success stories happened, more people joined. And that's still happening, because as correctly mentioned by Maliha Appa and Fayaz Bhai, it is never a skill set issue. It is never a talent issue. It is more a perception issue on the part of global stakeholders who think it's not possible, and on the part of local stakeholders as well, who are afraid to dream big. But once 1 or 2 people did that, it was not that difficult to do. So massive progress on that end. And I am very, very optimistic about the country. We are confident that we'll be as good as Indonesia in the next 7-8 years, because, these are all indicators. Because why is Sequoia investing? Sequoia does not invest in companies or countries they don't believe in, right? So they also believe that it is the right time and it is the right country with the right consumer market.
Thank you, Sifat. I know that you are always very humble. That something hasn't changed over the last, 10 or so years that I know you, because you're from the same university. Just for an announcement for the audience that Maliha Appa had to leave due to an emergency. She will try to come back, but if not, we have already heard a lot of great things about Sahaj and Bangladesh from her. Sifat, if I delve a bit deeper, SMEs are the bloodline of any economy, and more so for Bangladesh. There are close to 8 million SMEs there, and they provide livelihood for close to 30 million people. But a lot of them are not included in the formal financial network, or we call it the formal financial chain. They're often what we say is financially excluded. And with Bangladeshi people, I say that they are not just leapfrogging laptops to go into mobile devices. They're actually leapfrogging banking to go into fintech. So with some of this exciting product that ShopUp is working, how do you think the financial inclusion in Bangladesh will look like in the future? And what role fintechs like ShopUp or mobile financial services like bKash, as you mentioned, will play in that particular transformation? Sifat, over to you.
Yeah, sure. So this is a segment which is very, very close to my heart, and I'm very passionate about it. And I would like to take your permission to get a little deeper into that thing. So Bangladesh is a cash-based economy. Whenever it's a cash-based economy, then you don't know what is happening in the business, or the main blocker. For instance, banks want to lend. Why wouldn't they? Because they make revenue off of lending. And there are SMEs who want to borrow, because why wouldn't they? Because they need working capital. But the connect doesn't happen because their business is occurring in cash, and cash is traceless. So that's the main problem. Now, if I take one step back, why are they so dependent on cash? They're so dependent on cash because people are not transacting. You go into a local shop, you pay through cash. So when services like bKash come in, it's a massive game changer, not just for the consumer market, but also for the SMEs, because whenever a consumer pays digitally, that is logged, right? In fact, you might know that ShopUp, when we played a role in financial inclusion, one of our biggest asset was this payment information that we were able to collect, because we were a platform that enabled these online businesses to monitor and track their transactions. And the cash was also routed through our logistic partners. So what we in effect gave the bank was a traceability, a digital footprint based on which they could assess them. So now that bKash is growing, now that payments is growing, we have other MFS like Nogod coming in. Once consumers adopt, businesses will automatically have to adopt. Their digital identities will automatically evolve. Regardless, there are issues in the sense that our interoperability was not good. Like in 10 years back in India, there was a massive overhaul of the banking system where, they did the UPay, they did interoperability properly. There was MFS to banking channel interoperability. And all that has started happening in Bangladesh. And once it starts, it will rapidly escalate and things will just change overnight. That's my belief. So we also work in the SME sector, and we are bullish on that because, like with consumer lending, sometimes it's very difficult to recover, because if the ticket size is $300, it's not worth going to a defaulter. But with SME, the acquisition cost is lower and the recovery is also more friendly, right? So we work with that segment, and I'm very hopeful with the changes that are happening in the consumer payment sector as well. I'm very hopeful at what is happening at the infrastructural level, where the government is not forcing, the government is facilitating interoperability. MFS and banks are merging together, because in recent times there was this one product where consumers could borrow from a bank using their bKash account. Like based on bKash transactions, they are being able to borrow. So these are game-changing things for SMEs and for consumers as well, especially because the regulators, the regulations is very stringent, and it's a good thing, because any financial institute, the financial governing body, the central bank, they are the backbone of the economy, so they must be regulated. So it's not a bad thing. It is because they are regulated that like we are able to overcome a lot of shocks. There are because the government is focusing on ensuring that the financial institutions are lending responsibly, that banks are not failing, and therefore the economy is also thriving despite everything. So it's good to have that regulation, but there are also a lot of positive things happening. For instance, I mentioned the interoperability, the launching of new MFS, the collaboration between the MFS and the financial institutions. These are great. On top of that, companies like us, we are also looking into something very interesting. It's called embedded financing. So embedded financing is where you don't give money to the SMEs. All the problems that arise in default payments arise because when the businesses take the money, sometimes they don't use the money for the purpose they borrowed. Maybe they borrowed for working capital, but they invest in a long-term asset. So naturally, when they invest in a long-term asset, the liquidity suffers and they cannot pay back on time. So what we are trying to implement is embedded financing, where we don't give them money, we give them the products, and we collaborate with the people who are supplying them the product. It's a lot like supply chain financing. It's just ring fence so that they get what they need, but at the same time they cannot misallocate those funds. So products like these will also change the game, and it is only possible because it is only now that this sort of technological cooperation, tri-party cooperation is possible between a fintech, because I am in the middle and there is another stakeholder, which is the manufacturer, another second stakeholder, which is the SME, and another stakeholder, which is the FI, and companies like ShopUp are basically building out that platform, that hyper-connected platform, which connects everybody else and ensures collaboration. So it's an exciting time. And, like in India, there has been amazing cases like Udan and Misho, which is all basically focusing on mobilizing these MSMEs, these freelancers and SMEs, and enabling them to have a higher volume of business. So we are exactly in that area, and I'm very, very excited to see what happens next.
Thank you so much, Sifat. I think the point that you mentioned about embedded finance, got me thinking. Just a bit off topic, but I think a lot of countries in emerging markets, especially for banks, they suffer from non-performing loans. One of the reasons is that people take loans and use that for other purposes, like just go and buy a nice BMW, right?
So
but I think
like I have been a banker, and even when Standard Chartered is financing $20 million loans, it's the same problem. That 1 million will go to some land and they don't want that. So there's a lot of due diligence, there's a lot of covenants signed, but if you go into embedded financing, you don't need all that.
Thank you for that. Before I move on to Faiz Bhai to to give some bit of takeaways, I just also wanted to highlight one particular other important thing about Bangladesh as well. Besides all the economic indicators, Bangladesh has also done fantastic in terms of inclusive growth, especially if we consider things like gender. We have a large amount of female human capital who are working on the RMG textile sector, more than 4 million plus. Our prime minister is female. Our leader of the opposition is also female. And as you can see from this panel, the founders and the C-suite members of top 2 startups are also female. So I think that is something also to look at in Bangladesh as well in terms of women empowerment, gender inclusivity, inclusive growth. Bangladesh also has come a long, long way. Faiz bhai, if I move on to, as, kind of it go towards the end of the session, what would be three things you would say to the outside world if you want to entice them to come to Bangladesh?
Hidden gem. Bangladesh is a hidden gem. The remittance that flows into Bangladesh, it goes directly into the consumer market. Even though we say we don't have a lot of FDI, that is pure FDI. Why? Because they're fueling the SME consumption and the economy. When that third, we're looking at 20 billion plus, probably there's 30 billion unofficially. That is going into the SME market. Someone is building a small shop, building a farm, building something, spending on education. That's huge. Then you have the RMG, 34 billion. That's also going into where the backward linkage has developed substantially. So that is pure FDI, coming into the country and developing a consumer market of 170, 180 million people. That is tech savvy. We've jumped laptops. There's no laptops, computers. We're now on mobile phones. People are transacting. You don't need to teach someone how to use their smartphone. You don't need to teach them how to use Facebook, Google, Emo, or watch on Bongo, watch on Bioscope or YouTube or anything. They know how to figure that stuff out already. They know how to figure out how to send money through Bcash as well. So when you add those two together, you're going to look at a very explosive growth faster than any other Asian country in this region. Why? Is because people are curious, people are entrepreneurial, people want to push the limits and try new things. And you have a country with, one language, very easy, and we have a bright, young demographic. The average age, I think, under 50% is under 40 years old or under 25 years old. That's great. So when you add those things together, this is going to be crazy. E-commerce has picked up massively. Food ordering has picked up massively. We look at content, you look at SME. So I think the indicators are all there for an explosive growth. Now, look, it's a hidden gem. We know that it might be complicated. Investors might think, oh, I can invest in other countries. But okay, if you don't, we're going to keep investing. I'm investing. I've invested in a lot of companies. We've been involved with accelerator companies. And, we're investing in real estate as well. So we're not going to stop. And, the money is going to, keep flowing. And we want to co-invest with everyone. There's VC funds coming around, local VC funds like IDLC VC fund with a $5 million fund, just to, show confidence. Big institutions are also investing. Impact investors are in here. So, this is a place where you can get great profitability. You look at Telenor, you look at Unilever, you look at Marico, all these companies, they're making money. So how are they making money? And they're taking money out as well. So which is a very good indicator. So sometimes the perception is, oh, how are you going to take your money out? But there are companies who are investing billions and millions of dollars over here and making money. So my encouraging words is that this is a hidden gem market. Don't miss out. Thank you, Vijay.
No, thank you so much, Faiz bhai. Sifat, you're raising your hand.
So in addition to that, I think for us, the biggest pitch has been you should come and see our country. Because whatever you read online, whatever you see on media, it gives you one perception. But once you get here, the energy is palpable. Every time it has not failed us. If we have gotten an investor to land in Bangladesh, we have locked them. So that should, if nothing else, tell you that, like what a throbbing energy source it is.
And also the food. We have one of the best kachi biryanis. So I invite you at least come try the food. It's amazing. So that's part of our culture. We love food. We love seeing the green. We have one of the longest sea beach in the world too. Then you have the mangrove forest, Sylhet, tea gardens. We've got great things. So there's a lot to do. So don't miss out.
So definitely don't miss out on Bangladesh. I mean, just to give a bit of idea, this country has 160 million people. It's jam-packed, right? The density dividend is huge. There are literally 1,500 people per square kilometer. Dhaka city, just Dhaka city, right? That has close to 20 million people, just the city, the capital city. So, when we have international guests over, when I take them to certain food courts, I just bump into people I know left and right, and then you come to me, Bijon, you must be a celebrity. I said, no, you are just in Dhaka. It's so dense that you meet everyone on a Thursday night when you're going to get a food. So, definitely this is something you don't really want to miss out. I think even during COVID, Bangladesh is one of the Asian countries who have seen positive growth. As Maliappa said earlier during the panel, our growth is expected to hit 9% in 2021. With the vaccine coming in, hopefully, with COVID getting more normalized, people developing certain levels of immunity, that growth is just going to accelerate, right? And this is the transition period. Bangladesh transitioning into a middle income country. Hopefully by 2025, it will become an advanced economy, hopefully by 2041. And you definitely want to be here when that transition happens, when this big market opens up. Companies who have invested in Bangladesh, companies like Unilever who have invested long back, companies like Telenor who have invested long back, have seen massive dividends, right? They are here invested into the country. Telenor has actually floated in the Bangladeshi capital markets as well. RobiXZ is floating this year as well, even during the pandemic, even during COVID. During pandemic has accelerated our growth of digital services and digital commerce. Things are shaping up, things are getting exciting, and definitely want to be here. With that, I again thank everyone, for watching us, for coming here and listening to our story about Bangladesh. For anything, you can definitely reach out to the team. We are the Thai Dhaka team. We'll be always happy to help you out, network and figure out ropes and make the most of this massive hidden gem of Asia, Bangladesh, the best kept secret in Asia. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.